Alright, so you've already seen the basic graphs of sine and cosine. And this video is going to discuss the general sine and cosine graphs. Alright, but before we get started, let's recall our graphs of sine and cosine. Now remember, sine x and cosine x both had a period 2 pi. Remember, everything starts over again every 2 pi. Right? So the quick way to graph this, instead of doing the plotting the points, is to go out here to 2 pi, your period, whatever that is. Right? And then from 0 to 2 pi, cut that in half. So then this would be pi. And then 0 to pi, cut that in half. This would be pi over 2. And cut pi to 2 pi, cut that in half. Well, to figure out what's halfway between these 2 points, just take this number and this number, add them together. So pi plus 2 pi is 3 pi, and then you divide that by 2, and that's what number has to be right in the middle. So 3 pi over 2. Okay? Sine goes between 1 and negative 1. Right? And we know that it goes to the origin. Sine of pi over 2 is 1, sine of pi is 0, sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1, and the sine of 2 pi is 0. And so when you sketch your graph, it does something like such. Right? And it continues forever in both directions, right? This doesn't stop, it keeps going. Okay? But that's a quick way to sketch it. Same with cosine. You say here's 2 pi, cut it in half, you get pi, cut it in half, pi over 2. Cut it in half, you get 3 pi over 2. And say, all right, here's 1, here's negative 1. Cosine, quote unquote, starts up here at 1. It's 0 at pi over 2. Cosine of pi is negative 1. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of 2 pi is 1. So forth and so on. Continues its merry way. Right? You need to have these basic graphs of sine and cosine down for quick sketches, just like that. Right, so it needs to be that faster, so you know what they look like. All right, so now we're going to change things a little bit. All right, so now let's graph some number times sine or some number times cosine. When you do that, this is going to change what's called the amplitude of your graph. All right, so the amplitude is going to be the absolute value of whatever that a value is. Okay, the period is still 2 pi. We'll change the period up here in just a little bit. All right, so here we go. We look at this thing, we say the amplitude is 2. Right? The amplitude is the absolute value of this 2. The period is still 2 pi, so you would still go out here to 2 pi, cut it in half and get pi, cut that in half, get pi over 2, and cut that one in half and get 3 pi over 2. But this time the amplitude is 2. Now really what that means is, well, how high it goes and how low it goes. So instead of going between 1 and negative 1, we're now going to go between 2 and negative 2. And then we say, all right, sine goes to the origin, so everything else stays the same, right? So it looks like such. Come down, go up. All right, so then what about this one down here? Right down here we say the amplitude equals the absolute value of negative 3, which equals 3. I should have written that up here too. The amplitude is equal to the absolute value of 2, which equals 2. All right, the amplitude is 3, but the period is still 2 pi. So when sketching out your graph, everything else stays the same. It's pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. This time, though, we're going to be going to 3 and negative 3. And now cosine usually one cycle, starts up here, right, and goes down like such. But because it's negative 3, right, when cosine is 0, cosine of 0 is 1. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. It's going to start down here. Right, so it's going to go like such. Follow what I'm getting at? Okay, because the cosine of pi is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. So that's why when we're at pi, we're up here at 3. But see how fast it is to sketch the graph out if we just know a couple of things. All right, so the absolute value of the number out in front of your trig function there is called the amplitude. And really, the amplitude of a periodic function is half the difference between the max value and the min value. Right? So for example, the max value is 3, the min value is negative 3. That total difference there is 6. So the amplitude is half that distance, and which would be 3. Right? And that's how we're getting the 3 thing. I mean, formally, that's what it's about, right? That's it for the amplitude. Next video, we're going to talk about the period. Okay, so study well. Please let me know if you have any questions.